happy to introduce today's expert, Lara West. Welcome, Lara.
Thank you very much, Lucia.
It's so good
Very
to
happy to be here.
Yes, I love having you as well. Lara West is the author of 7 Healthy Gut Habits for Women Over 40. And her work is focused on gut health for women, obviously, and is designed to help the readers of her book navigate the physical symptoms that are often associated with middle age. After dealing with some personal challenges in perimenopausal health, through dedicated study, Lara discovered that a lack of information about the importance of gut health and how it can be achieved, as well as the impact of this on women as they approach middle age, was an area in which she could really contribute. Because as she did her research, she found that it revealed a lot more than she'd been able to learn from medical professionals. And now she's really passionate about making this information readily available to other women. So that was what was behind her book. Lara originates from Ukraine and currently lives on Vancouver Island with her husband. She owns a home staging company, which she established after finding new levels of confidence and energy as she improved her health. So it was all connected here. And I would love to hear a little bit more about how you got interested in this subject of lifestyle and health and the story behind this book.
Yeah, of course. I will be happy to tell you about that. I was just like any other woman, on earth, going through life, going with my family, with my work. The life wasn't very easy. I was an immigrant in Canada, and I was very busy with my work. I had to commute a lot. I didn't like my job. So the life was tough. I couldn't spend enough time with my son, and he was growing up, without enough attention, I think. So it was a lot of stress in my life. And then I entered my 40s. And of course, that added even more stress because I noticed I started having changes in how my body, how I felt, how my body reacted to different like to exercise and to food, and I started gaining weight. At the same time, it was very shocking to me that I received an autoimmune disease diagnosis that put huge stress on my already stressed body and mind. I stopped sleeping at that time. I was prescribed medications for sleeping and for my autoimmune disease. So I don't talk in the book what disease it was, but I can tell you now that it was multiple sclerosis. So I just didn't want to tell people in the book so that they think, oh, you can, not go to the doctor about no, you cannot do that. But I managed to actually deal with my symptoms by dealing with my gut issues. So gut issues, multiple sclerosis, leaky gut, and perimenopause symptoms all came together into my life. So I started taking medications, and that didn't help me. It was kind of like downward spiral. So I decided to take these things into my own hands and started doing research, a lot of reading, a lot of following different experts. And as a result, to make the long story short, I kind of designed this system for myself, consisting of 7 habits. And eventually that helped me to manage my symptoms, to manage my menopause symptoms, to manage my autoimmune symptoms. I healed my leaky gut. And for the few years now, I've been feeling quite good, quite healthy. As you mentioned in your introduction, I gained more confidence, and I made a huge change in my life. My son at that time was already in his 20s. So me and my husband, we decided to leave the big city we lived in. And we moved to Vancouver Island. And then I started my dream company, which was always I wanted to be in design and interior design, and I started home staging company. So it's been a few years. I've been doing it on Vancouver Island and feeling good. And then I decided to write this book so that I can help other women to do the same.
Oh, I love that story, and
Thank
how,
you.
you shared kind of some of your pain and challenges, and now in a way that can help and encourage other women. That's lovely. And
Yeah.
I understand that you ended up learning a lot about the connection between gut health and hormones. Can you share what some of these connections are?
Yes, it's actually quite fascinating. So in the last few years, like probably 10 years, it's been a lot of interest in research in gut microbiome and how it affects all different functions of the body. And like in our immune health, our metabolic health, cardiovascular, all those things. And of course, now we know that it also influences how our body regulates hormones.
Mhm.
When I found out about it, it's so interesting. So we have trillions of bacteria in our gut and millions of different types of bacteria. So there is a certain set of bacteria, like a collection. It's called estrobolome, and this bacteria actually regulates our estrogen. So as our estrogen level falls as we age, our ovaries produce less and less estrogen, and that affects our cardiovascular health and our metabolic health. So the bacteria in our gut that is responsible for this for the estrogen, what it does, it has produces enzymes, and those enzymes, after our estrogen is produced by the ovaries, it's not ready to enter the bloodstream yet and affect all our bodily functions. It has to be metabolized by these enzymes. I'm thinking like almost like our food has to be digested to the nutrients can be applied to our bodily functions. The same thing is with estrogen. It has to be metabolized, put into the active form, and then it can enter our bloodstream and do all the important work it does in our body.
Mhm.
So now we can understand how important it is to have our estrobolome very healthy, so it can perform this function on our estrogen. And of course, the estrogen level falls, it's even more important to maintain this healthy gut flora for that.
Oh, that is so interesting. So
Yeah.
there's a synergy between these microbes. They produce a chemical, an enzyme that's needed
Yes,
to metabolize the estrogen so our body cells can use it.
exactly.
So they work together. And so if the microbiome isn't healthy, you're not getting perhaps the supplies that you need to use the
That's
estrogen
right.
that is available. Well, that is very
Exactly.
interesting.
I
And
know. It's quite fascinating.
it really is. And as you learned all of these things, I love that you decided to take those results and turn them into a book that would support other women. Can you tell us a little bit about the 7 habits that your book is all about in a nutshell? What are these 7 areas?
Of course. So my first habit was actually something that has become very popular in the last few years. It's intermittent fasting.
Hmm.
However, I found out about intermittent fasting many, many years ago when I had some weight gain after my pregnancy. I couldn't get rid of of that weight, and then my girlfriend told me, "Hey, I stopped eating breakfast, and my weight now under control." So we didn't know that term intermittent fasting at that time, and I tried it, and the weight just went off my body completely, whatever I gained. So that was all good, but then intermittent fasting came back into my life in my 40s again, because I remember that, oh, it worked in my 20s, I will try it in my 40s. So certain bacteria actually thrive when we fast. So
Hmm.
it's very important for gut microbiome. So that's why it's my first habit. And my second habit is taking enough probiotics and prebiotics, and I talk about that in the book. And then chewing your food is very important. This is my third habit. Then we have also very important to read the labels, because there's certain food that affects our gut microbiome, and also certain chemicals that are in the food, in cleaning products, in cosmetics, stuff like that. And also the next one is exercise affects our gut microbiome, and managing stress. So all those things are very important, and this is how I structured my book. It's kind of like step by step, habit by habit. You don't have to learn all these habits all right away, all at once. It will be overwhelming. So I suggest that women choose habits they're maybe more comfortable with, or maybe already familiar with, and practice those, and then they can get into all 7 habits at once, and then it kind of becomes your second nature, you know.
Yeah, that's the whole point of creating a habit, right? It becomes automatic.
Yeah,
You have to
yeah,
think about it.
yeah,
So that's,
yeah.
you mentioned chewing as one of those 7 habits, and I'd love to hear more about its connection to gut health.
Yes, oh, exactly. Chewing, I don't think it gets enough interest in when we talk about gut health, about food in general. We learn about what to eat and how to cook healthy food and all that stuff, but chewing, yeah, needs to get more attention, because a lot of times, me included, I was not the person who will pay enough attention, sit down to have healthy meals, often eating on the go, something, having in my car, or maybe eating in front of my computer when I had my corporate job. So chewing is very important, because when we chew, the food is actually start digesting processes starts in our mouth, because our saliva has enzymes that starts to metabolize our food, and then also moisten our mouth and our throat, so if food gets very easily down the throat. Then in our stomach it turns into chyme, and then which is a combination of the food, semi-digested food, enzymes, and water, and so it moves easily down the digestive tracts, and we get our nutrients this way very efficiently. So the idea is to eat slowly and mindfully.
Mm.
For example, soft, and you can even start like literally from counting your chews before it becomes a habit. For example, if it's soft food, count 5 to 10. If it's like medium hard food, then maybe 30. But hard food, just maybe like nuts, things like that, up to 40 chews is required to have this process started in your mouth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So many times I think in our busy lives, we feel like we don't have enough time maybe to sit down and eat, or to stay at the table long and eat. And we just,
Exactly.
scarf our food down, as we say here in America.
Yeah. Exactly. Scarf our food down. Well, now I have a habit of not just chewing, and I talk about in this book. It's a ritual, you enjoy your meals, you set the table, and then you pay attention to the sounds and sights and smells. It's very interesting, and it becomes a very pleasant experience.
And I think that enjoyment of the experience, you talk about pleasure, when you're
Yes.
mindful as you eat, you're paying attention to all of the different sensory inputs, that
Yes.
pleasantness, the good emotions that are released as you feel that pleasure, actually also helps that whole digestive process to work better and optimize
Absolutely.
it, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, I so appreciate you bringing that up, because I think chewing is greatly neglected. I have
Yeah,
a
I agree.
question. You talk about chewing soft, medium, and hard foods. What about things like smoothies? that you don't actually need to chew. Is that a
This is soft food. This is actually soft food. You still have to chew your smoothie. And I eat a lot of smoothies. So you kind of maybe cannot literally chew it, but you can swirl in your mouth. So
Mhm.
it gets the saliva starts working on your smoothie, because smoothie is also, there is the same, it's the same as your hard vegetable, it just blended, right? So it does need the same connection with your saliva, with the enzymes that saliva has.
Mm,
Very, very good that you brought it up. So this
thank
will
you.
be considered your soft food. Yeah.
Okay, that 5 to 10 chews per
Yeah.
mouthful.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so even though you could just drink it, you really should spend
You
time with
shouldn't.
your smoothie in your mouth, mix it with the saliva before you swallow it.
Yeah. Maybe not 20 minutes like your regular meal, but 5 minutes, I would say, would be a good time to spend on your drinking your smoothie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
making sure the saliva is mixed with it. I like that. I think that's really important and it makes sense. So you also mentioned another habit was label reading. So labels on what kind of products and what are we looking for?
Well, in terms of food and other products, we're looking at chemicals and also food that can harm your gut. First of all is sugar, and we know now that sugar is everywhere. So sugar, actually, it influences the balance of good and bad bacteria in the gut, and so bad bacteria actually thrives on sugar, and good bacteria, unfortunately, the growth is reduced. So that can lead to many different health problems. Also, different foods like soy, processed foods, dairy, nightshades, vegetables, farmed fish, also artificial sweeteners and alcohol. So all those foods actually influence our gut flora. And the
Interesting. Can I ask a
chemicals, yeah.
question about that before you go on? You mentioned
Hmm.
nightshades, and I know that for some people that are really struggling with inflammatory conditions and arthritis, that eliminating nightshades from their diet often
Hmm.
causes less pain. Were you able to find any information on what the mechanism is with the nightshades? Like, what is it? How do they change the microbiome, or what is that effect? I'm curious.
Well, they contain glycoalkaloids, and this substances actually creates inflammation in the gut, and that's especially for people who already have some gut issues. It um, increases the inflammation. This substance, glycoalkaloids, yeah. So I understand that not everyone is affected by nightshades, but if people have some kind of symptoms of inflammation, they should check if maybe this glycoalkaloids is the reason why they're suffering. Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. And for those who maybe haven't heard the term nightshade, that includes things like potatoes, tomatoes,
Yes,
eggplant,
uh, eggplant, yeah,
yeah,
and peppers.
and
Hmm.
peppers. There we go. So that's
Peppers.
the
Hmm.
nightshade family. So
Yeah. It's too
it,
bad they taste so good.
I know I love tomatoes, but I actually had a personal experience, I believe, where I experienced some of that inflammatory effect when I did a juice fast for 30 days. And because I
Wow.
didn't care for a carrot-based vegetable juice, I based my juice on tomato juice. And so
Mm.
because I like the V8 kind of flavor with, tomatoes and the parsley,
Hmm.
celery, and so on, but it meant that I was actually consuming the juice from 2 to 3 pounds of tomatoes a day. And I had never had
Wow.
issues with my gut before that. But when I came off the fast, I made a second mistake, which was not researching how to do that properly. And the first thing I had after the 30 days of not eating was avocado toast. And
Mhm.
I really believe that I had developed some permeability of the gut through
Okay.
that
Yeah.
month. And I developed a gluten allergy. Like I broke out in hives
Wow.
when I ate the bread. And I believe it's because the gluten from the bread, the protein, went through the gut wall without being properly broken down first. And so I
Mm-hmm.
got that bodily physiologic reaction of a allergy. And it took about 2 years to heal my gut so that I
Wow.
could once again eat wheat products that were organic, not too much, and not too often. But I think
Yeah.
there, I learned some things from that, and I've always been curious about what caused it. And the more I've heard about nightshades and tomatoes, I've been thinking that that might have been one of the culprits that set me up for that, was the huge amounts of
It could be.
tomatoes for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. You shocked your gut with those nightshades. Yeah. With
Yeah.
those glycoalkaloids. My favorite juice is carrot, apple, and ginger.
Oh, that is a very
It's
good combination. I
yeah.
love that. Okay, so label reading, we're looking for sugars and nightshades, and on foods. Anything else?
And then chemicals in cosmetics. We're also looking chemicals in cosmetics and cleaning products. So I think women is at more danger than men because we use more cosmetics
Mhm.
and we also still do the most of the housework with cleaning.
Mhm.
So I cannot list like I list some of those chemicals in my book. I can't actually pronounce all those words, so I won't. But everyone has to do their own research and diligence in terms of like getting the list of those chemicals that can influence your gut, because they killing your microbes. They change your microbiome diversity. They also reduce the microbe growth rate, affect nutrients in your gut, and they even influence how microbes communicate with each other, with each other. Different groups of microbes, they have their communication system. So in terms of cosmetics, of course, as every woman, and when I was young, I never even looked at what the ingredients are. I'm now very, very conscious, and I try to buy organic and natural products. And with cleaning products, most of the time I just use homemade cleaning products like oil, vinegar and baking soda. Those it's a wonderful product you can make with natural products at home. Yeah.
Yeah, so avoiding as many toxins and extra chemicals in things that we put on our skin or things that we
Yeah,
use in our environment for cleaning. I think those are two areas that we often don't think about
exactly.
enough. Hmm.
Yeah, I think the awareness is now much higher than when I was young, and now we know about the importance. But I think that it's just my emphasis on making it a habit, not just buying something that looks nice and smells good.
Yes,
Because
smells
if it
good.
smells good, chances are there is a bad reason that it smells good. There are fragrances there,
Mhm.
which all fragrances are chemicals that are harmful for our gut health.
Mm.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
they would be different though from things like essential oils, right? Like if you're using a pure essential
Oh,
oil for an aroma,
absolutely.
it's very different from the
Yes.
fragrances added to these products.
Essential oils are wonderful, yeah, for
Yeah.
making your own cleaning products and even cosmetics. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So, a couple of other areas that affect gut health that we might not always think about. One of those is exercise. What's the connection between exercise and your gut?
Yeah, this is also quite interesting. The studies were done on how exercise affects our gut microbiome. They took a group of obese people who didn't have very active lifestyle, and they took samples of their gut microbiome,
Hmm.
and then they put them on exercise program that they for 6 weeks, when they were doing an hour 3 times a week cardiovascular exercise, and then they checked their gut microbiome composition after they finished the program, and they found out that the beneficial bacteria has grown, especially the bacteria that creates the short chain fatty acids. And those short chain fatty acids are responsible for our cardiovascular health, for our obesity, diabetes. So as you can see, such a beneficial effect of exercise on our gut health. However, you have to continue exercising, because these people, after they did the checking their gut microbiome, and then they stopped exercising for 6 weeks again. So guess what? The microbiome returned back to its pre-exercise state with less beneficial bacteria. So as you can see, it's very important. Consistency is the key. Yeah, it's maybe not how much you exercise, but how you do it on a consistent basis.
That consistency is really key. I love that we never hardly talk about the fact that these microbes in our gut make a certain kind of fatty acid that we need for heart health. But what you're saying is we get more of the bacteria, so we get a higher supply of that chemical that helps to protect our hearts as we exercise consistently. So awesome.
Exactly.
So when we move our arms and our legs, we're also helping our gut. So lovely.
Yeah, and also in a way that the food moves more faster and we become more regular. So if there's any pathogenic bacteria in the gut, there is less time that it spends in the gut. So that helps too, to reduce inflammation.
Good point. Good point. I love that. And one more lifestyle habit that influences our gut. How about sleep?
Yeah, sleep, just the same as how our hormones affect our gut. It's like two-way traffic kind of thing. So the sleep is important to keep our gut microbiome healthy, but also gut microbiome affects how we sleep. So it is very important to sleep well and to maintain your gut health. So for example, it influences the serotonin level, which affects our sleep-wake cycle. So the gut microbiome can increase or reduce the serotonin levels. Also, if we don't sleep enough, our cortisol levels remain very high. At that time, when our cortisol levels is high, we are in fight or flight response. So our digestion is not prioritized, okay? And that affects our gut microbiome. Then also when we don't sleep enough, we reduce the amount of very important hormones as melatonin and prolactin. And we think of melatonin as the sleep hormone, but it also plays a crucial role in our digestion. So from all that, you can see how important it is, this connection. And it is really a two-way street. When we don't sleep, what happens? We in the morning, we are stressed and we usually are more hungry. It's hard to skip breakfast if you are on intermittent fasting program. Also, in order to kind of compensate for the lack of energy, you can maybe grab a sugary treat or something like that, that is not healthy for you, because you need to increase your energy and it will give you some energy boost. You may pay less attention to chewing because you're kind of hungry and want to eat as soon as possible to replenish your lack of energy. So there are different ways how lack of sleep influences how we eat and how our gut microbiome functions.
Yeah. That is really fascinating. And that's one of the reasons that when I talk with some of my clients, and I really recommend intermittent fasting, but I'll often have them start with breakfast, have lunch, and that's when their fast starts. That way they don't have this needing to eat but not quite time to eat frustration in the morning. They can get the energy that they need, and they get used to not having that third meal, and then they get the long fast for the gut to recuperate and to do its other kinds of work besides digestion. So
yes, I agree. Especially I also practice skipping dinner often, when especially it helps me if I need to lose weight. I notice that skipping dinner works better than skipping breakfast. It does work sometimes it doesn't work, especially honestly, because we try to get together with my husband for dinner, because
Yeah.
our like morning is like all over the place, but then in the evening we'd like to get together and have a good conversation, a good dinner, sometimes romantic dinner. So it depends on your situation,
Yes,
right?
it
So
does. Yeah.
some, yeah. But
And
definitely two meals a day is enough.
yes. And I think that sometimes we forget that we can get creative about ways to connect with our families and our husbands, and it doesn't have to be over an evening meal. If we're creative and we're both um, looking to make this work for everybody, sometimes there's alternative kinds of activities, or sometimes it means sitting at the table, talking, conversing, and fellowshipping, and maybe only one of the people are eating. But there's
Absolutely,
different
yeah.
ways to do this. I just want to have you use your own creative juices to figure out how to implement the principles that Lara's been sharing.
For sure. It will be different for everyone, for different families. If you have,
Sure.
like, I don't have young kids, right? But
Yeah.
if you have young kids, it will be different in that situation. Sometimes you have shift work, right? So it all depends. Exactly. You have to be creative and think about what's best for you and your family.
Absolutely. Before we close, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the gift that you've prepared for our viewers.
Yes, I have I think it's a wonderful gift. I worked hard on it, and this is a workbook that helps women to implement these habits in their lives easier. So it has multiple different like spreadsheets for different habits. They can track. It's very important to track your progress. It's very important to know how you're progressing, and then it actually motivates you when you know that you're making progress. So don't rely just on your memory, or like you think, oh, okay, I know what to do. It helps to choose habits one at a time, maybe two at a time. For every habits, you shouldn't be choosing more like maybe two or three activities to implement. So these spreadsheets will help to adopt these habits, to implement them in your life, and and make them really habit, not just like on and off. Like we often have situation when we're all excited about developing a habit, and then we forget about it. So these spreadsheets will help you to keep track of them, and so they become part of your life.
Yes, I think that sounds like a really great tool for helping us to implement better habits that will support our gut health and support our whole body health, especially in the Middle Ages. So, I thank you so much, Lara, for sharing with us today. I've really, really enjoyed this, and I think there's been some very valuable information that you've shared with us that we're all going to be able to take away and put into practice. Are there any closing words of wisdom or advice that you'd like to share with us?
Well, it's of course it's a cliche, listen to your gut. It is, right? But I think that is actually it's a very important wisdom,
Mm,
that we understand that our gut is the backbone of our health, and everything what we do to it, everything from what we eat to how we live, how we exercise, how we sleep, everything affects our gut. So listening to your gut is very important, and taking care of yourself is very important, because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of your family. And so that, I guess that's how I try to live my life.
I love that. Thanks again for sharing with us. And let's all remember that health is wealth and it comes by choice, not chance. Thank you for being here with us today.
So true.